we go. Yeah.
Shalom, covenant keepers and children of Israel. You're listening to Awaken to Torah Ministries, where spirit and truth converge. We are a listener-supported ministry and ask that you prayerfully consider supporting this work. This ministry is focused on revealing the message of Torah as taught by our Jewish Messiah, Yeshua. Your donation will be used to further a ministry devoted to exposing the lies that we have inherited from our forefathers, as Jeremiah 16:19 clearly declares. You can contact us at 77690 South 4680 Road, Stillwell, Oklahoma 74960, or join our mailing list at awakentotorah@gmail.com. We look forward to meeting you when we once again are sheltered by a cloud by day and a fire by night on our way to Jerusalem. Shalom Aleichem, and we'll see you there. Welcome to the Tents of Israel. I'm your host, James Gillespie, and as always, we have Mr. Chris Jones and Ryan Knoll in the background here. We will be talking with them in just a second. Well, here, I'll just bring them on the screen because they kind of know what's been going on. Nope, that's not it. So let's do there we go. Now I got you on screen. Let me adjust this just a tad. Actually, good view. I don't know what's going on here. For some reason, it's got this thing over here on the sides. Let's enter full screen mode. Okay, I did that. That's still not it. No, that's not it. I'm trying to figure this out as we're going here. So showing the call screen. Okay, I'm back on there. But for some reason, this crazy thing is over here showing. And I don't know how to make that not show. Okay, so I guess let me enlarge my picture. I'm not intentionally being bigger than you guys. But I don't know what's going on. Just a ghost in the machine tonight or something. I'm being a screen hog tonight for some reason. I don't know what's going on here. We're starting a little bit late because OBS updated again, and every time it updates, it messes up my system. We tried starting on 2 or 3 minutes before time, and I checked everything out earlier. Everything was working, and I pulled YouTube up. When I pulled YouTube up, the camera went out, and so you could hear me online, but you couldn't see me online. I know most people would have thought that was a plus, but I need to torture you a little bit. So, so you get to see my smiling face, anyways. But tonight's broadcast is the accuser of the brother. We were going to do this broadcast anyways, but about 2 weeks ago, there was a brother that we know, and he attends Fifth Sabbath with, or I say he attends, his family attends Fifth Sabbath with us, and we've been having some pretty heated discussions online, which those who know me know I hate social media. It's a vehicle that we use to use in ministry. So for that, I'm appreciative of it, but in general, I hate social media. I Facebook, I get on, I pray before I post most of the mornings. I get something in my spirit, I post it online, and sometimes it's like when the I don't know, when dad leaves the house, the children are going to play. And I mean, there'll be fights and roaring debates on what I thought was going to be a simple thread when we come back. And one such thing a few weeks ago, I did a teaching for Awaken to Torah talking about the Godhead and, showing that Yeshua is Yahweh. And a lot of people got messed up with that because I made the comment that if you worship a half man, half God, you're worshiping a demigod. And that's just a Greek version of something. So in making that statement, are y'all froze on me? Okay, Chris moved his head there. look like y'all can froze on me. So, this brother, that he has an issue with that, and a lot of people did, and that's all right. I don't put things out like that without expecting some heat. When I normally never talk about numbers and that type of stuff because that's just not important to me. But when you have thousands and thousands of people that are following your ministry, you're bound to get some criticism. And it seems like I get more than my fair share. I don't know why that is, but I do. I just get more than my fair share sometimes. And when we, were with Watchman Radio for 20 some years, people listened to us on there, and we just wanted to kind of move away from that. And we started, Fifth Sabbath and the Tents of Israel and a couple other things. Well, my best friend for 20 some years kind of lifted his heel against me. And I know a lot of people maybe heard that or saw that. And if you didn't, you didn't miss much. It was just I don't know, I call it a pissing match or something. People just get mad and saying things that they probably shouldn't said. But it's all right. But now that brother that supposedly brought me on to expose me has got this personal vendetta that burns with a fiery heat. And he tries to rally everybody he possibly can to his side. Those who, listen to Watchman Radio, they realize that, it's not what it was. And I don't want to degrade it in any way, but they're at the point now that I've left the broadcast that, if they get 10 likes on something, that it's a good day for them. And I'm sorry to see that happen because that was a good going ministry for 20 some years. So that part alone breaks my heart. But we met a guy during that time, well, probably previous to Watchman Radio. His name's Brett Vassy. And recently reconnected with him online, and it was through my buddy Rich, who runs Watchman Radio. He tried to get Brett to rally on his side and come against me, but in talking to Brett, he found that Brett is kind of more following the Messianic side than traditional Christianity side, and he thought he was going to get Brett to rally on his side on a message that I did speaking about Judas. That was another big controversial message that I did recently. But Brett didn't take his side. But Rich just kept, on with Brett and messing around with him. And now on Facebook, if you go to my Facebook profile, the bio on there, because it's my Facebook profile has now taken on, I guess, our ministry profile, which it used to be separate, but now it's kind of the same, one and the same, because I post on there more than I do on Awaken to Torah or anything like that anymore, because most people found out that that's me, so now I just communicate with them there. Well, on the Facebook profile, it says an influential voice in the Messianic movement for 30 years. Well, Brett knew me about 20, 25 years ago. I don't really know how long. I don't know. It could have been 20. I don't know. But anyways, we met in a place called Christian Chat. which was Yahoo way back in the early days of the internet, 20 some years ago. At that time, I was playing both sides of the field. Being a Jewish man, I thought that I was God's answer to the Christian church. I was going to drag these Christians on over to being Torah observant. And I thought I was going to also grab all these Jewish people and drag them over to being believing in Messiah. So I was trying to play both fields. So when I was talking to a Christian, I would present myself as a Pentecostal pastor, which I was pastoring a Pentecostal church at that time. And when I was talking to Jewish people, I was leading Passover Seders and Hanukkah parties. So trying to play both sides of the fence. And we know what Scripture says about that, being lukewarm, he'll spew you out of his mouth. And but I was young, impetuous, and thought I knew more than most people. And so during that time, I guess Brett felt like I lied to him, and I did deceive him in a way. Because, like I said, when I was talking to a Christian, I would present myself as a Christian and then try to slowly introduce Yeshua and from the Hebrew perspective to them. But neither here nor there. But anyways, Brett felt like I lied to him. And so he took up Rich's crusade against me, not realizing that that's what Rich wanted him to do in the first place, because Rich fancies himself as some master manipulator. And that's all right. I will say this one probably stings a little bit more because he was my best friend for many years. So yeah, it stings a little bit. But in saying that, I know him better than anybody else knows him as well. And that's part of his personality, that fancies himself a master manipulator, and he calls it outsourcing. He'll outsource it. He won't pray for you, but he'll ask somebody else to pray for you. So he'll outsource. But it's that master manipulator type mentality there. And Brett, which is a good guy, so I told him on the phone the same thing I'll say here, that I did mislead him during that time, and I called him a liar in a heated thing online. So for that, I'll publicly apologize for that, because he wasn't lying. He was just going off of the information that he personally had at that time. So I first of all and foremost, the same way I told him in person, I will say it publicly as well. Since it was done publicly, I apologize for publicly calling him a liar and ask him humbly for his forgiveness, which I believe he's already given me. Okay, so now that we have that out of the way, it kind of flows right into the message that we were going to talk about tonight, and that being the accuser of the brethren. I had talked about this message many times before, but we need to think about what's going on in the faith today. Satan doesn't care if you're just some nobody, no name person out there, not doing anything, not trying to win souls for the kingdom. Well, the enemy don't care too much about you. But if you are out there trying to live for Yahweh to the best of your ability, he's going to try to mess you up. We have a brother in the faith that messages us today, and he's struggling with a family member, and it's messed me up because I'm close to him. It's messed me up all day. I've been praying for him. I know these two brothers have been praying for him as well. I'm not going to mention his name on here, but it's something really close to me because I've gone through the same thing, and it rips me up to see it happening to somebody else, because I know those feelings. I know that pain. I know that hurt, and it's not an easy thing, and I hate to see him going through it. But it's the accuser of the brother. It's the enemy. We can say Rich, or we can say this person, or we can say that person. What's really behind it all is Satan. If you're really doing something for the kingdom, it's Satan that's going to accuse you. Oh, you don't realize that you're there with your wife, and you're just daydreaming. Your head wanders off. You ain't looking at that woman, but the enemy's in her ear going, "Hey, look at him. He's looking at that woman right there. He don't love you anymore. He don't find you attractive anymore." That's the enemy doing that. And you're just daydreaming. You didn't even see that woman. I mean, you're thinking about the next insurance adjustment thing you got to do, or this kid you just had to wrestle, at your job. I mean, these are the things that are going through our minds as men, but our wives might be feeling something else, or the vice versa. I mean, it may be the same scenario might be happening with you towards your wife. I mean, she might be doing something that she is totally innocent, but the enemy's in your ear just telling you, well, she's doing this, she's doing that, she's doing this. We can't listen to those things. Okay, we have to go and be able to speak to each other calmly, because that's the enemy. I'm gonna jump over here onto a scripture screen if I can pull it up. Oh no, I don't even know how to minimize this screen. So let me see if I can. Let's see. I don't know how to. So I'm gonna exit out right here, and I'll call you guys. All right, y'all stay online, and I'll come right back. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so now that screen is froze on there. It won't even let me exit out now. This is crazy. This whole thing is messing up tonight.
Not only the accuser of the brethren, the prince of the power of the air.
I'm telling you.
The mix.
Okay, there it is. Okay, so now I pulled it down. I just need to get my PowerPoint up because I wanted to look at some scripture here, and we closed it out when we had to reset a while ago. So, okay, so I have it back up. Let me pull that back down, and I'll pull you guys back up. Hey, now we're back to normal. All right. So, I'm gonna jump over here to this screen with some scripture on it, and you guys can just hang out there for a minute. I'm just gonna read through this. Okay, so let me move me over here. And you guys can, most people are really familiar with this passage of scripture. And I teach this passage of scripture a different way in a different message. When I'm teaching about Lashon Hara, I normally start out with this passage of scripture because every one of these 7 things fit into the topic of Lashon Hara. For those who don't know what Lashon Hara is this is simply an evil tongue or evil speech or corrupt communication, something along those lines. If we were to inaccurately or semi-accurately try to interpret the English version of Lashon Hara. So it's a lot deeper than any of that, but I'm trying to make it short without doing a teaching on Lashon Hara. We just want to do the topic of the accuser of the brethren. But if you read Proverbs 6 verse 16 through 19, it says, "These 6 matters Yahweh hates, and 7 are an abomination unto him." Okay, so if you read that in the Hebrew, it's basically saying, and the 7th one is an abomination to him. All of them are definitely things that he hates, but the 7th one is really specific, an abomination. So let's go through them. Number 1 is a proud look. Number 2 is a lying tongue. Number 3 is hands that shed innocent blood, a heart that deviseth wicked schemes. 5 is feet that are swift to run to evil. And 6 is a false witness. Okay. So a false witness, I'm going to kind of go through those. A proud look. That's not a person who is proud in their appearance. I mean, Chris look at that big old lovely lady locks beard he's got going on there. He can have a little bit of pride in that beard. He can. He works out. I know you can't see him online, but he's not a 20-something anymore. But his body looks like it is. He takes care of his body. He works out a lot. So he can take pride in that. So that's not what this is talking about. Number one here, a proud look is not talking about somebody taking pride in their personal appearance. It is a prideful look in the sense that you think that you're better than someone else, than the next person around you. Okay, it's more of that insidious type thing that they actually may be better looking than you, and they may be smarter than you, and they may have more money than you, and they may know the scriptures better than you, but for whatever reason you have this spirit of arrogance about you that you still think that you're better than them in every way. How could they ever measure up to you? That's false pride. Is basically the way that I kind of try to interpret that in the English. It's a sense of just disgustingness. I mean, I know you've walked in there, run into people. There's this one that comes to mind. I see them sometimes here in my hometown. There's this guy and his wife. One of them, she dresses up like a witch, and he dresses up like a warlock about half the time with this big old staff. And I mean, they just look absolutely goofy walking around a Walmart like that. But they think that they're the coolest things in the world. Just pushing their way down through the aisles and stuff. So when I think of that spirit of a proud look, that's kind of what I think about with them. A lying tongue. Now let's talk about that. So we can say that the sky is blue. I use this analogy a lot. My oldest son Caleb is colorblind, and I mean almost what I would moderate to severe colorblind. He has a really hard time distinguishing colors. Now, if you've told him what color something is and you ask him what color it is, he'll tell you because he has a great memory. But if you tell him, well, what's the color of that? And it's the exact same color as the thing you just told him the color of, he can't tell you. So, I mean, he's moderate to severely colorblind. Okay. So if you ask him what color orange is one that he has a real hard time distinguishing. He may say that is green or blue because it does not appear orange to him. Is he lying? No, he's not lying. He's using the information that he has in his brain, and what his brain is telling him is that is a different color. Okay, so somebody who is telling an untruth is not necessarily lying. I want to make that clear, okay? Because an untruth and a lie are two totally different things. An untruth is we tell them all the time because scripture says, for his law is true. So we may think that we're walking in Torah to the best of our ability, but then a year later, 5 years later, we find something that we were missing. And the truth that we were walking in 5 years ago no longer is the truth today because the Father has revealed something to us newer and deeper in that same thing. So again, looking at that aspect of a lie. What the Father's talking about here, a lying tongue, is a person that is intentionally lying for the purpose of self-gain and to deceive. Okay, so going back to that Brett Vassey thing, I at that time in my life, trying to play both sides of the field, I didn't think I was lying. But now looking back at it now, because I was doing that for personal gain, because I thought that I was going to win the whole world for the kingdom. That was my big goal. I had these delusion of grandeur in my mind. So yeah, and telling somebody an intentional untruth, which I believe a half truth is still an untruth. Okay, so I didn't feel the need to tell him that I was Jewish. So did I know I was Jewish? Absolutely, but I didn't feel the need to tell him that because I didn't want to go down that road with him at that point in time. Now, my buddy Rich, during that same period of time, I was Jewish, eating clean, keeping the Torah, all of that kind of stuff. We went to New York. Him being the typical Christian guy that he is, we were down down by the World Trade Center, and we'd done some street ministering down there. And on the way back, they had hot dog vendors there on the side of the road. And he's like, "Hey, let me get you a hot dog." And I'm like, "No, I don't eat that stuff. It's pork." And he said, "No, we're in the Jewish quarter. They don't serve pork down here anywhere." And I said, "Well, if it's beef, kosher, I'll eat it." So he goes and gets me a hot dog, and I eat it. And kind of tastes a little different than what I was used to, but I didn't think anything about it. I'm not used to New York hot dogs. Well, about 5 minutes after him and this other guy were with, Mike, eat their hot dogs, they're over hanging their heads over the trash cans, just puking. I mean, just throwing up like they're going to throw up their toenails. And both of them came over to me and repented. They're like, "Man, we're so sorry we lied to you. Those were pork hot dogs." I'm like, "Well, I didn't know it. I thought I was eating a clean kosher hot dog. You two's the one that got sick, not me." So I remember the one time I did eat pork and that I knew it was pork. Oh my goodness. Never again. I was so sick I felt like I was going to die. The Father gave me a straight up whooping. I'll just tell that. I'm going to jump back over here on the screen with Chris and Ryan for a second, because I don't know if I've told them this story yet. Skype call. So the story, after I came home from New York and I'd eaten that pork hot dog, I hadn't eaten pork in years, many years. And after I'd eaten that pork hot dog, it was just one of those times in your life that you're just struggling financially. And I was working at this factory, just mad at the world because my business wasn't going like it was supposed to go. And I was only working part-time doing construction. I was working at this stupid factory, just absolutely mad at the world, mad at Yahweh for allowing it to happen. I mean, you know how that period of your life is, but just one of those points in my life, a really low point. We were already struggling for money. And then on my lunch break, I went over and got this, what I thought was a egg and cheese hot pocket out of one of those vending machines. And then when I got it out, I started reading it, and it said sausage, pork sausage on it. And I'm like, I already paid $4 for this thing. I'm not wasting that money. And I ate that thing because I didn't want to waste $4. I ended up losing 3 days worth of work over a $4 pizza pocket. I was so sick, I could not go to work for 3 days. So Yahweh whooped my backside and took 3 days worth of pay away from me for being disobedient. So never again. It's the last time, as far as I know, it was the last time I've ever pork has ever touched my mouth. That was probably 20 some years ago. But just one of those times that the Father will just get our attention. To those who don't know better, I think they're perfectly fine. I would never tell somebody, "Hey, you're going to hell for eating that." It's not something I would ever say. So anybody who tells you I've said that, that's not what I would say. What I'd say is it's probably not the best thing for you, and you probably need to get in Scripture and allow the Father to speak some things to you because you need to grow a little bit. Because the same way he said the seventh one is an abomination, he also calls that an abomination. And we need to know what those abominable things are. So I'm going to jump back up over to that screen and finish going through those little points there.
Hey, just to add to that, James.
I'm going to pull you back. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just realized, and this has kind of been coming to light on a lot of channels that I've been following. The three biggest foods that contain the highest amount of parasites is sushi, pork, and farm-raised tilapia. And the parasite infections that we're facing is a lot of them are based off of it's causing cancer. A lot of the cancers are based off of parasites, and so that kind of lines up with raw fish and pork are two things that we should just really kind of steer away from. And the Father was, the Father's showing us these things. It's not, he forbids it, but there's a reason why. So
yeah. I believe there's absolutely a physical reason why he commands us not to do everything in the Torah. Some of them I might not fully understand. I mean, I'll try to act like I do. I mean, like the mixing of fabrics. I will say, oh, that's because our body sends off a frequency, and I think there's some validity to that. And because if you can put linen is like 5,000 by itself, and wool is like 5,000, the frequency by itself. But if you put linen and wool on, it cancels them out, so it's like a zero. There's something to that frequency thing. I don't know if that's why the Father told us not to mix the fabrics of our clothes, but it seems plausible to me. It doesn't specifically say that, but talking about sushi and I mean, fish with fins and scales, I think are fine. But most of that sushi is made out of stuff like calamari, which is octopus, and then you have all this clams and all this shrimp and all that
crab meat.
Yeah, crab meat. That's what I was trying to think of. Crab and lobster meat up in there. So yeah, I mean, parasites galore, and then you're not only eating that stuff that you're not supposed to eat, but now you're eating it raw. So you're not even trying to get the parasites out of it. And oh my goodness, I mean, could you imagine eating a piece of raw chicken? I mean, you're talking about salmonella, you're going to die. but you'll willfully and willingly eat that stuff with with these parasites in it. Some of that stuff I don't understand. My aunt one time made shrimp. It's the only time I ever tasted shrimp. It was the most disgusting thing I've ever eaten. I don't know how people eat that stuff. It's disgusting to me. But they were eating that stuff like it was popcorn at the movies. I mean, just one after the next. Ugh. But I guess you could develop a taste for anything if you had to. Just, I don't know about you guys, but me, like if I'm walking by somewhere, by a restaurant or something, and they're cooking pork on the grill, like bacon or something like that, it makes me nauseous. I mean, just the smell of it makes me nauseous with it. So yeah, I can't eat that stuff anymore. I'm not setting in judgment over anybody that does. That's not what I'm saying. I can't do it anymore. But that's a great point, Ryan, about the tilapia, because tilapia is a clean fish.
Mm-hmm.
But the farm raised tilapia, because it's raised in a cage and doesn't have the dirt underneath it like it's supposed to filter all that stuff out, they have nowhere to dispel all of those worms. So there's basically these parasites just living in the water with them. So the host doesn't have any way to get rid of them. So the parasites stay in the host. And when you eat this farm raised tilapia, you're just getting sick. I heard that farm raised salmon was doing the same thing. So it's all that farm raised fish that is doing it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd stay away from all the farm raised fish.
Yeah, because they have to put antibiotics in that water and the feed just to keep those fish alive. So
yeah,
that's another aspect you got to think about too.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. It's crazy, and people think you're a conspiracy theorist. I know we'll get back on this other message here in a minute, but people think you're a conspiracy theorist, but almost everything they're trying to feed you nowadays is trying to kill you. Why? I mean, monosodium-glutamate. I don't know. just make up a word, throw it on a package, and we'll say that that's food. I don't know what that is. So it's hard.
Like we just noticed that and I haven't really looked into it a lot, but the bioengineered products that they're putting in. Have y'all noticed that on the labels?
Well,
I don't really know what it is yet, but it's some sort of bioengineered something they're putting in our food. And I just like, well, we just got to not get things in packages at this point. It's just.
Well, the other word for it back in the day was synthetic. So, I mean, now they're saying bioengineered, but because of the food allergies, like red dye number 4 or number 7 was a big thing in the Messianic movement, 15 years ago. Don't eat red dye number whatever, because it's made from the cochineal beetle. Well, after a bunch of research, no, it's not made from the cochineal beetle, and in fact, no red dye in the United States is made from that anymore. Now, if you get ketchup made from like the Philippines or somewhere like that, yeah, they're still using the old red dye number 4 or whatever that is with the cochineal beetle and all that kind of stuff. But in general, most red dyes, unless you're eating maraschino cherries or that Filipino stuff, you're not getting that cochineal beetle dye anymore. But I'm not sure that what you are getting is any better because it's
Still not.
synthetic red dye, and it may be worse for you.
I don't think it's good for you, though.
No, it may be worse for you. But I mean,
just because it says kosher, don't mean we should eat it, right?
yeah, I mean that's. Did I ever show you the picture of the kosher for? They had the sign above the ham, kosher for Passover.
Yeah.
Yeah, a ham, one of those old canned ham that was like your granny used to have when you were a kid. Had a sign
Kosher.
over it. Yeah, kosher for Passover. So I'm like,
you showed me.
probably not.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna jump back over here. So we did a lying tongue, but let's talk about hands that shed innocent blood. So hands that shed innocent blood, of course, is murder. But you know, when Yeshua came, he said, you know, a person who's hated his brother has done the same as murder him. You know, so. A man that looks at a woman with lust in his heart has done the same as committed adultery. You know, so if you say unto your brother, thou fool, or raka, I mean, we see that he took these commandments and he made them deeper. Okay, so when we look at this hands that shed innocent blood, what if we are murdering somebody's character? Now, I think that this actually is the shedding of innocent blood, but we can also look at it in the metaphoric sense as well. If you're murdering somebody's character, if you're assassinating them when they've really done nothing wrong, then you're probably guilty of this one. Heart devising wicked schemes. Now that's kind of what we were talking about earlier with my buddy. I mean, he's always trying to devise a plan, a scheme to do something. You know, I bought a AR-15 from him, and he switched the bolt out in it. Like I wouldn't notice the bolt was switched out because the bolt that was in there was like a $300 or $400 bolt, and he put a cheaper bolt in it before he sent it to me. I mean, just those types of schemes that which it didn't bother me. I mean, he's my friend. If he would have not sent me the gun, I would have honestly just said, nah, don't worry about it. Keep the money. I mean, because I value friendship over things. Some people aren't like that. So it didn't even bother me. I mean, I harassed him a little bit about it, but it was just a playful thing after that. But those are the types of things that a lot of people, I don't realize that because that's just not part of my personal makeup. But now that I'm getting a little bit older, I see that is a part of a lot of people's personal makeups, that they're always looking for an angle. They're always looking for some way to exploit the situation or somebody. I don't understand that mentality. But yeah, I guess it's more common than you would think. I personally have this la head in the clouds thing most of the time, that I basically think everybody is the same. We all just, you know, want a house and food and a wife and some kids. I think that's because that's my goals in life. I think that's everybody else's goals in life. But when you start really getting to talk to people, that's not some people's goals. So the next one is feet that are quick to run to evil. Now, this is where you see a lot of people. They're just always into somebody's business. Call them commensurators. They always want to know what's going on. I mean, they hear something's up. Well, what did he say? Well, what did she do? Well, what did you say? And what did you? I mean, they got to know every little detail. Well, why? Because their feet are quick to run to evil. And we're going to show you how some of that's evil here in a minute. A false witness. We know what the Torah says about a false witness. A false witness whatever that witness wanted, or whatever the punishment that you're being accused of, whatever that punishment should be. If they're accusing you of a sin unto death and you're found that they were the false witness, then they're supposed to be killed. Okay, so whatever the punishment was, that's what's supposed to happen to them. So if it was 20 lashes, then they're supposed to get 20 lashes. I mean, I'm just throwing that in there. But that's why Yahweh hates a false witness, because we have no other recourse but to trust the words out of somebody's mouth. I mean, if their life has been pretty exemplary up until that point, you have no reason to not trust them. But we don't know all the details, so they could be a false witness because they had ulterior motives. So Yahweh hates that. But this seventh one here, and this is the one we're going to kind of talk about and get into some scripture on. One that causes strife among the brethren. This is a big deal. This is a big deal, and social media is like the devil's playground. I want to tell you that this anonymity that you have online, where you think you can just hide behind people's backs and there's no consequences and nobody knows, and you're the tough guy, or you're the tough girl, or you told them how the cow ate the cabbage, or you proved them wrong in scripture. All of that stuff used to never play out in real life because people realized that there was consequences to their actions. Okay. This anonymity, that you have online, that nothing is real, it's messed with your head. Because I'm going to tell you, the people on the other side of that screen are real people. And the words that you say to them are hurtful. Those words that you say to them are going to affect them in a way. Okay. The reason people are on these social media sites for the most part is because they live for you to like their post, their pictures, their whatever it is that they're sharing, that they need to see that you liked it. So they have this thing of community, because that's their sense of community now. Most of these people don't even go out of their house. They live vicariously online with online friends, most people that they've never even really met in their whole life. Well, they're my friend. Well, no, they're not your friend. They're posing online to be one person that they're not actually. I mean, if you're watching this, let me get these guys back on screen here for a second. If you're watching this online, you can see me from the top up. So you can see I've got on a gray shirt, and Chris got on a black shirt, and Ryan's got on a black and white shirt. But we could all three be sitting here in our underwear.
I mean, you guys aren't?
not today. That was last week.
Oh man.
but we really honestly could be, and nobody would know the better. I mean, you can't even see my office anymore because I got this green screen thing that looks like I'm sitting in front of this wall, with these ancient characters on it. It's a cool background. I like it. But go back to the earlier videos and you'll see that I'm just sitting in my office. So everything you see, most everything you see is fake. It's not real. The people are not real. The comments that they're making are not real. There's one guy that I desperately love. I met him at Sukkot a few years ago. Love him, love his family. I just think they're wonderful people. He got sideways on me for some reason. I guess I made him mad about one little thing or something, and he got a little sideways on me. And for 2 years, followed me around. I couldn't post anything online without him trying to slam me or blast me about something. I don't know what that's about, but I still love him. Same way, with Rich. I mean, we talked about him a little bit earlier. He may not consider me his best friend anymore, but he's still my friend. He's just acting up in a way. If Ryan or Chris or Steve or any of my other real life friends, lifted their heel against me, they might not consider me their friend anymore, but I would always be their friend. I don't believe you can love people halfway. And when I genuinely call somebody my friend, they're my friend. Now we may not be able to sit down and eat dinner with each other anymore, but if they ever have a flat tire in the middle of the night, they can call me and I'll get up and drive to wherever they are and fix their flat tire for them. You can't love people halfway. Either you're all in or you're all out. And genuine shepherds and genuine pastors have to be that way. You got to have that love in your heart for people, that you're willing to go that extra mile, even probably when they're not. So either one of y'all got anything on that before we jump on some of the scripture?
No.
Okay. I'm gonna jump back over there to that monitor. Okay. So Proverbs 16:14 says, I'm just going to run through a few of these scriptures here real quick, because I just wanted to pick this theme out and show you, what the Father thought about, stirring envy and strife and sowing discord among the brothers and that kind of stuff. So Proverbs is a really good place. I found quite a few there, but I wanted to get something other than Proverbs. I probably could have got 50 or 60 scriptures from Proverbs on this one topic, because it talks about it quite frequently. But I wanted to get some other reference points as well, so you didn't think only Proverbs was talking about it. But so I'm just going to read through those scriptures real quick, and then we'll come back and talk about it a little bit, and then see where the Father leads us. Okay, it says Proverbs 6:14, frowardness is in his heart. He deviseth mischief continually, and soweth discord. Okay, so that's right before that passage of scripture that we were talking about previously. Proverbs 6:19, we read that verse. A false witness that speaketh lies, and he that soweth discord among the brethren. That's that seventh one, the one that the Father says is an abomination. That sowing of discord. A froward man soweth strife, and a whisperer separateth chief friends. So that's another thing that we were kind of talking about, is if you see these people, these commensurators, they just go around jumping from house to house to house, and a lot of times it's women. I mean, well, what did he say, and what did she do, and what did he say, and they'll just jump around from one friend to another friend, and they're speaking silently and secretively in their ear, speaking these not necessarily straightforward words against this person, but they're sowing those little seeds. That's what he's talking about here. Proverbs 15:18, a wrathful man stirreth up strife, but he that is slow to anger appeaseth strife. Okay, so this is what we have to be. I mean, we know that people are going to attack us. I mean, if you can't do anything for the kingdom that the enemy's not going to set people up against you. Okay, that's just the straight fact of it. So people are going to become wrathful and stir up strife against you, but we have to be slow to anger and appease the strife. So 90% of the time, I never address these people. I don't want to address them. This last year, I made the point that if somebody was going to continually attack me, I was going to defend myself. And I've done that a little bit, but most of the time, we just don't say anything. Chris and Ryan won't say anything. Steve won't say anything, because we just realize that stuff's going to happen. Proverbs 26:21, as coals are to burning coals, and wood to fire, so is a contentious man to kindle a strife. Okay, so these people that you always see, running around starting stuff, I grew up, don't start none, won't be none. I mean, ain't that the way you guys grew up? Don't start none, there won't be none.
Yeah.
My whole life, I know these new kids ain't raised like we were, but I'll guarantee you, if I got in a fight at school, the first thing I was going to be asked is who started it, and it better not be me, because you better not start a fight. But here's the other side of that: you would get a whipping for starting a fight, but you'd get a whipping for running from a fight just as much as starting one. Okay, so you never started a fight, but you never ran from one either. That's the way some of us old school guys were raised, and that's kind of the way I am now. Sometimes I want to fight back, but but now I have to realize that I don't fight my own battles anymore. It's the Father that's fighting them for us. So Philippians 1:15. Some indeed preach Messiah, even of envy and strife. So there's preachers out there that are preaching the Messiah, but they're doing it out of envy and strife. That's their whole shtick, is to, I didn't realize it, but one guy that I ministered with, sometimes he'd always talk about this person or that person or this person, clip clacky fake bake black. I mean, just go on with this diatribe about somebody else, trying to spark envy and strife. He did it because he was envious of their large ministries, but he was creating strife. But we did, the Father, as we grow, he'll reveal all of those things to us, and he's absolutely doing that. And some also of goodwill. So there are those people that are just doing it out of goodwill too. Their hearts not completely where it needs to be. And I mean, when we teach that first, normally we teach it with a whole different message, but I want to throw that in there. James 3:16, for where envy and strife. Now John 3:16 says something totally different than James 3:16, doesn't it? So James 3:16 says, for where envy and strife is, there is confusion and every evil word. So that's one of those testers. Okay, if somebody, hey James, we want you to come minister with us, I don't know those people, I start to watch their lives, their ministry, and that kind of stuff a little bit. And if I start seeing a lot of confusion there, I'm probably not going to go. Probably not going to go to that conference and teach it. I'll set that one out, because I don't want to be anywhere near that kind of stuff. I don't want. This year at Sukkot, some things happened, and I had asked numerous times, "Hey, keep me out of that. Hey, keep me out of that." So, and then it turned out at the end, somehow I was the one manipulating the whole thing. I said, I don't know how that happened, but I honestly had no part in the whole thing. But that's the way it happens sometimes, Two more verses here. Revelations 12:10 and 11. And I heard a loud voice saying in heaven, now is come salvation and strength, and the kingdom of our Elohim, and the power of Mashiach, for the accuser of our brethren is cast down. So there's where we need to focus tonight. Who is the accuser of our brother? Okay. I realized that it wasn't Rich doing that, attacking me. That was Satan. He was, whether he realizes it or not, he was being used by Satan to do that. Anybody 2 weeks ago that was in the YouTube chat, live chat, and couldn't see that there was a couple people in there totally being used by the enemy to try to slander and defame people in that chat, that wasn't them. I'm sure that those people, when they're prayed up and living right, are on fire for God. I'm sure they are. But when they get in their feelings, when they get hurt, when they get whatever, the enemy is just there waiting to use them. And especially if you haven't done what Ephesians 6 tells us to do, put on the whole armor of God. If you haven't done that, the enemy's right there at every turn, waiting for that moment he can pounce. Okay? He's waiting there to pounce on your wife. He's waiting there to pounce on you towards your wife. I mean, any crack in this armor that he can exploit, he'll exploit it. We need to realize that, okay? So the accuser of the brethren is cast down, which accused them before our Elohim day and night. So he's standing there before God day and night, accusing Chris, accusing Ryan, accusing James. Trust me, if he wants to, the great thing is he throws up my past and he's like, he was a womanizer, he was a liar, he was a thief, he was a this, he was a that. And God said, yeah, the operative word was He was. He is no longer. My blood has made him new. His blood's made Chris new. His blood's made Ryan new. I'm telling you, every man I know has a past. Most of them can keep it hidden pretty well. But every man of God that I know, when you get to know them, the reason God uses them so mightily is because of where he had to pull them from. Okay? When you had to pay a great price, you're going to get use out of it. I mean, that's the way I look at it. He reached down to the very bottom of the barrel to scrape up James. So he's going to use me all he can before he takes me out of this world. and that's the way I see most good ministers is they have a past. They have things that God has called them from. And probably if we're all being honest, even in the last 5 or 6 years, that old nature has come up a time or two, and we've still struggled with it even recently. So that's what we have to realize, is this fight is never over. We have to keep surrendering to the Father daily. We just do. Now, sure, I may not do the exact same things I did 30 years ago, but there are things that I know better that I still find myself doing, and I'm like, man, you're an idiot, James. He's redeemed you from that. Quit doing that kind of stuff. Quit having those thoughts. Quit thinking like that. Those types of things. We've got to pull every thought captive and into the obedience of Yahweh. Ephesians 6:12 be our last verse. It says, "For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against rulers of darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places." I'm going to pull Chris and Ryan back on the screen, because that's kind of what I want to talk about tonight, is that last verse there. We can talk about the accuser of the brethren, and we can pull up examples. I've probably been the accuser of the brethren a few times in my life. I don't know if Chris and Ryan has ever struggled with that, but I probably have. I can't think of an instance right off the top of my head, but I'm sure there has been a time or two in my ministry that I was jockeying for position before I realized that I had no position, but that I probably became the accuser of the brethren, that the enemy had spoken to me and I was walking in a wrong way with somebody. I know that I have walked in that with my wife. I know that she's walked with me. But we have to realize that Ephesians 6:12 verse, it's not about us. This whole thing is a spiritual war being played out in the heavens, and it is good versus evil. And we are bought with a high price. We are bought with the blood of our Messiah. Someone who knew no sin laid down their life for us. And that battle is being waged to try to destroy and mar that untainted blood. That trying to destroy what that blood is doing and what it is accomplishing in our lives. And we need to start realizing that. When that little argument comes with the wife, and that little argument, if your wives are listening, that little argument comes with your husband, we need to realize what we're really battling against, because that's not your battle. That's not your fight. Okay, I lost Chris and Ryan here.
We're still here. I can okay. Hear you.
They just closed your screen on my screen, so I had to pull you back.
Okay.
But when we start seeing those things, when we see that little battle, Robin Jones said, Deuteronomy 32:35, New King James Version, "Vengeance is mine and recompense." Yeah.
I think we had Ziggy Stardust jump in, so she kind of got on him a little bit, it looks like.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was one of the guys last week. That's all right. We know who it is, and old Mr. Stardust, we love him anyways. It's just part of it. When we sit here and we think about all of the things that Yahweh has done for us. And when we start wanting to speak harshly to our wives or to our children, we need to ask ourselves, what's motivating that? Is this genuinely out of the best interest for them, the best interest for our family, or is there something else motivating this? And if we can start pulling ourselves back from that place, then that accuser of the brother, because who's the number one thing that the enemy's going to try to use to trip Chris up?
Be the one closest
Robin.
to me, right?
The same one he used in the garden. That's the same one he's going to use for Chris. The same one he's going to use for Ryan. Same one he's going to use for James. Okay, because we love them so much, and whether we're doing it out of fear, whether we're doing it out of love, whether we're doing it out of anger, I don't know. So I don't know what motivates me sometimes. All I know is I have the spirit of an idiot sometimes, and I have to go back and confess that to my wife and say, hey, I was an idiot. I love you. I'm sorry I talked to you that way. You don't deserve that. And I know where that stems from. I know that it stems from the enemy. So we just have to pray for ourselves, and we have to pray for our wives, and we have to pray for our children, because the enemy's going to try to use every one of them that he possibly can to stir us up, to get us acting in a wrong way, because he'll get us to say the wrong thing to them. It's like this domino effect. He'll get us to say the wrong thing to them. Now you have created a spirit of offense in them, and they're justified, because now you have legitimately offended them for no reason. And now it's going to be 10 times harder for you to heal that spirit of offense in them. So realize that that's not you. That's not what, and that's what I've had to say to my wife a couple times. Hey, I don't know where that came from. I don't know why I said that. I don't know. I wasn't even upset. I don't know how that even happened. I mean, I'm sitting here trying to figure out how we even got into this discussion. And those who know me and my wife, we don't really argue. We don't really fight. But we do have, the normal, well, I mean, that, one person trying to get their will or their way over another person. But then she finally realizes I'm the king of this castle, and I'm just just playing on that one. So when we start looking at that, though, guys, how can we as men start to step back and realize that even when we think we're being righteous in what we're saying or what we're doing to our wives, that in all actuality, we are being the accuser of the brother?
So how can we step back and realize our place and our role when we might be getting the spirit of the idiot, you called it?
Yeah, the spirit of the idiot. That's a roaming spirit. It roams through my house quite often.
Yeah, it has a tendency to come through mine every now and again as well. I guess we better bind that spirit of the idiot and just keep it away.
Absolutely.
Recently I had a wise man give me a good piece of advice. And it's just anytime that we're having these kind of emotional issues, or, just wanting to impose our will upon one another, just wake up in a bad mood. I mean, because that sometimes happened to me. I just call it the spirit of the tired idiot, so
yeah.
And nothing's really going just right. And, you don't really know what it is, and it's not anything personal, but it just kind of will rub your spouse the wrong way. And they think that it's, it's all, it's about them, that they've done something to offend you, and rightfully so. I mean, most of the time, it's kind of how it works. But the advice that was given was just stop what you're doing and go pray with your wife. And
Yeah.
You know, we've begun to do that, and now have made a commitment to. And you know, people talk about it all the time. Yeah, you pray with your wife, but you know, if you get honest about it, like to just sit down and have just you and her intimately praying. It might be in the kitchen or something like that. If it's one of these spirit of the tired idiot things, just, hey, let's pray
Yeah.
right quick. Um, but to really buckle down and to pray with your wife and y'all really seek the Father together, it's a hard thing to do if we're being honest. I mean, maybe maybe it just is for me. I don't know. It's something that
No.
I've known that we should be doing for years, and you might hit and miss and do it, but to really commit yourself to daily pray with your wife, so many things get into the way, but and I believe that that's just the evidence that that's one of the major things that we're missing within the body of Messiah is that intimate prayer with our wives. I mean, we can maybe pray with one another when we're together in assembly, but yet that intimate prayer where we just seek the Father and we try to listen together
Yeah.
for His voice and really draw near to His throne. That way, true transformation takes place, you know, because the closer we get to Him, the more His fire is just going to cleanse us. And that's kind of been, you know, the idea that, like you talked about, you know, our battle's not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, the powers, and authorities in the spiritual wickedness in the heavenly places. Then that means that that our war isn't against these hecklers that are on YouTube or on Facebook and all these things,
It
but that
really
we're
isn't.
spending no, we're spending way too much time having hot air come out of our mouth towards another person, and not enough time building an altar to the Most High and placing our sacrifices upon it, applying the blood, and allowing those things in the spiritual realm to tear down these principalities, these powers and authorities, and starting to really understand that that is going to be the place where the accuser shuts his mouth. And then
Yeah.
instead of people running to us, they're going to be running away because the presence of the Most High is going to be with His people. And this is where revival is going to come. So He's been wearing me out all week, man. I just, you know, to really stop being a non-intercessory man and really get on your face and pray and get with your wife and draw from her spiritual power that the women have, that they energize us men, being the spirit of the prophet. We gotta get serious, and we've got to get them involved, and so we can start protecting our families, because we know that's where the Satan's coming. He's coming after our children. He's wanting to divide us and destroy our marriages like he is everybody else. So that's the thing that we've got to come connected on. I mean, if we don't connect our own household with our wife and our children, how are we ever going to operate as a body and bringing other families together? We've
Yeah.
talked about it before, but we've got to get our house in order. And then as we do that, you know, the Gillespies and the Knowles and the Davises, I mean, as they put those puzzle pieces together as the Father fits, I mean, that's an unstoppable force. And I mean, there's other families that I could name as well.
Oh,
But literally, I'm
100%.
talking about transforming. I mean, I think we're thinking too small. I mean, lately, the Father's just been like, you're thinking way too small. I'm talking about, you know, bringing down these authorities that are in control over entire counties, over entire states, and over the nation and entire continents. I mean, we've got to quit thinking so small and realize that we're operating with the spirit of the Creator. And I just think that we're limiting ourselves due to the accuser that's in our ear telling us that we can't accomplish even peace in our own home, much less bring down a principality that's over our
Yeah.
city. And I'm thinking, you know, that's a lie. And we're going to get down, we're going to start doing it. And it's going to be on our knees before the Father and His altar. And that's all I got to say about that. So that's where I'm at.
Ryan,
I
you
got
got
a lot more to
anything?
say, but we could go later.
Well, I just go back to that scripture where there's life and death in the power of the tongue. But you know, for me, I have to watch my tongue, because if my tongue gets to speeding, and it gets me in trouble.
Yes, sir. I might resemble that remark.
Yeah, me too.
I think that's one thing I have to really focus on, not, you know, with my wife, because I get these thoughts in my brain, and I want to get them out there, and that tongue just gets to spinning, and a lot of times it's not good. It's hurtful, you know, and you got to go
Yeah.
back to it. But you know, I guess I just have to make a conscious effort to think about it, just to think more than to think about your words before they actually come out of your mouth, would save a lot of heartache, and with your kids too, because I have a tendency to kind of lash out at the kids sometimes in frustration. I'd rather lash out at my kids in life, but you can't do that. I mean, you got to really watch what you say. I mean, and I don't like to talk a lot, when we get into those heated conversations, because it's hurtful, because you put it out there, you can't bring it back in,
Yeah, that's the one thing you can't ever take back is a hurtful word. You can apologize for it, but it's always there,
That's out there.
I mean, because it people, the old saying is you say what you really mean when you're mad. Now I realize that that's not true, because sometimes I've said some pretty nasty things when I was mad, simply because I wanted to hurt somebody. I didn't mean that no more than the man in the moon. I mean, in all reality, but in that person's mind, can I ever take that back? I can't take that back. I tell this story, and there was this girl here in town, and she was mean. I mean, she was mean. And I was a little kid. She was 2 years older than me, and she's in the same grade as my brother. And she would just pick on me every day on the way home from school. And because I was a little redheaded, freckle-faced boy, looked like Opie Taylor, I think, probably. So just a blaring target for most bullies, and she was one of those in that time. But she had this skin condition where some parts of her skin weren't melanated. She had white patches and dark patches all over her skin, and I would try to defend myself with her, but then I found one thing that would really hurt her, and I made up this nickname, the White Knight, because of these white patches in her skin. And I harassed her so bad until she was in tears, and then she didn't ride the bus for the rest of the year. Well, I'd grown up, went to the military, been gone for 15 or 20 years when I came back to this town. And one day I was in a store, and she was working in there, and I hadn't ever even really thought about that since I was a little kid. And I just thought I'd taken care of a bully, somebody who had been bullying me. And I sitting there, I can't already tell the story without kind of tearing up. But I went into the store, and she had the courage to tell me, she's like, because I was being nice to her. I figured that, that was kid stuff, because I had never really even thought about it since then. And before I was about to walk out of the store, she said, you made my life a living hell. I couldn't even ride the bus going to school anymore. I didn't go to the high school because you and your brothers were going there. I had to go to a different high school and all this kind of stuff. And she just lays it out on the line to me. And I had to tell her, hey, I was a dumb kid. I felt like you were picking on me, and I just found something to pick back on you. And I'm sorry I made you feel that way, but I know I went way far and above what she did to me. So I just humbly had to humble myself in front of her, and just, in tears, ask her to forgive me, because I was no longer that guy. I wasn't for sure the little kid that I was on that bus, but I wasn't even the old soldier that wouldn't have given a care. I was a transformed guy that God was really trying to work in my life, and I could not imagine hurting another human being that way. And especially with something that they had held on to for their whole life, and now up in their mid to late 30s, it damaged me, thinking that I could have affected somebody's life in such a negative way. And I mean, luckily, I think it's kind of healed now because every time she sees me now, she's like, "Hey, James, how you doing?" And we seem to be good with with each other. But those damaging words, what we don't realize is that voice that's in our ear nagging on us. That's the accuser of the brethren. The reason we're so harsh with our wives is most of the time that self speak that we have. You know, you're such an idiot. You're so worthless. You're not good enough. That's all the enemy speaking in our ears. You weren't good enough. She didn't. The reason she does this is because you don't love her right. You don't take care of her right. I mean, that's what the enemy tries to play in our minds. And if he's doing that to us, he's doing it to them as well. So we have to realize not only is he accusing us day and night before the Father, he's got that voice in our ear, that self-speak, because we all know who we were. We know the evil that we're capable of. And, you know, the enemy sitting there telling you, you know, that guy's still there. You think you got the victory over him, but you don't have the victory over him. And all that self-speak that's going on in our head, that's the enemy. And we have to start acknowledging that for what it is. You know, the prayer with your wife, that's an amazing thing. I mean, if we can learn that one principle, because the one thing the enemy doesn't want you to do is pray with your wife. Because a twofold cord is strong, but a threefold cord is not quickly broken. So when you're putting husband and wife's focus on God, oh my goodness. He don't that self-speak will slow down on quite a bit when you start doing that, because he doesn't want you going to your wife saying, "Hey, I'm having some negative thoughts about myself," or "I'm having some negative thoughts about you, and we need to pray and get the victory over this thing, because I don't want to spend the day mad at you, and I don't want you to spend the day mad at me. So whatever's going on here, let's get that under the blood right now, because I don't want this today. We're going to have a good day today." When you start purposing in your heart and your mind to do that, the enemy's going to quit messing with you a little bit. And it's going. I'm not telling you it's going to go away, because he's going to come back and try that door every once in a while. But it's going to be a whole lot less. Because he doesn't want you to grow strong, especially with your spouse. Because what you know, you're talking about thinking small there, Chris. I think that we do that a lot, even in our relationships with our husband and wife. Because if we can realize the potential that we have, if we're both on the same team. Now, we're married, we love each other, we care about each other, but if we're genuinely on the same team, working for the same goal, oh my goodness. Me and those who know me, I mean, I got this little 4'0" Filipino wife, skinny as a rail. Me and her built this house. I mean, and my daughter and my son. I mean, we built this house. They helped me hold boards up. And I mean, sometimes she'd hold the board up on one end. I'd go over there and screw it and run back over to the other end and screw it. But we built this house that way. So, I mean, it's amazing what you can accomplish just with two people. And that's just on the physical side. Imagine what you're doing on the spiritual side when you start saying, no, we're not going to bring up the past anymore. We're not going to think about those. I don't care what you did before. I don't care what you did yesterday. So what? You messed up yesterday. You can't change what happened yesterday. You can change what happens today, though. Because you can purpose in your heart, no, I'm not going to do today what I did yesterday. That's the only thing we can do. I heard this thing from a psychologist once. And I use it quite often now. I try to use it like it's mine, but sometimes I'll attribute it to him. But the couple comes in, and the woman's just going off, blah 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 blah, and he's a this and blah 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 blah, and he's a that and blah 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 blah, and he's a that. And of course, the man's doing what all men do at counseling. They sit there quietly and listen to their wives berate them to this counselor that they're trying to get on their side. Well, this counselor was a wise counselor, so she let the woman just bah, 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 until she run herself out, and then she turns to the man and asks him. So he basically gives two lines, and then the woman starts up again. And the counselor says, no, you had your turn. Now it's his turn. And of course he starts saying, well, I can't change what I did 5 years ago. I can't. So this psychologist, after he's self-deprecating, he said, it probably is my fault. I did these things years ago, but I'm no longer that guy. So the psychologist turns to the lady and she says, do you drive? And the lady's kind of confused looking. She says, yeah. And she said, have you ever drove to town in reverse? The lady's like, no. What are you talking about? You don't drive in reverse. She said, well, that's how you're trying to manage your relationship. You're trying to go forward looking in your rearview mirror. All you're going to do is create wreck after wreck after wreck, and that's what you're doing. You're wrecking your marriage because you're trying to drive your marriage to the rearview mirror. We can't do that. We cannot do that, guys. Anything that happened in the past, if we're still with that woman today, then we got to let it go. It's got to go. It's got to go completely in the toilet. It's got to get flushed. We can't bring it up anymore. We need to, now women, I'm telling you, they're gold miners. they'll go bury that stuff way back there at the back of the cave for a rainy day when they got to use it. So we've got to tell people that, or we got to tell our wives that, look, I am releasing your past. Any wrong you've done to me, I'm going to try to never talk about that, bring that up again. Okay? You can't change that. What you can change is these two things. These are the two things I need you to work on this week. Do you have two things that you need me to work on this week? Because I can't change anything I did in the past. Okay? Only God can do that. Only God can forgive me of what I did in the past. Okay? So we're gonna have to let that go. If we can get our wives to not be the gold miners, and we can stop, holding up the mirror to them, because they're just a reflection of us. That's honestly the truth. If you're a good, solid man, your wife is a reflection of you. If you are weak in that mirror, she'll be strong on the other side of it. If you're strong in that mirror, she'll be the weaker vessel on the other side of it. That's the way that mirror works. So, I just said something probably going to make a lot of people mad. That's a whole nother counseling session. We'll just leave that one right there. But when we start talking about that accuser of the brethren, we have to realize that not only is he accusing us before the Father, he's in our ear trying to get us to do his job and accuse our wives. He's in their ears trying to get them to do his job and accuse their husbands. Because if he can get us fighting each other, a house divided against itself cannot stand. Okay, you may dwell together, but you're not standing. That's not standing. You can live together. You can get by, but I don't want to get by. I want to thrive. God made me to thrive. He made Chris to thrive. He made Ryan to thrive. He made Steve and Susie to thrive. Okay, he made the Hoovens to thrive. He made the Garrisons to thrive. We could go through 100 other families. He made them to thrive. He did not make them to sit here and only survive. Okay, I'm not talking about finances. I'm not talking about all of that. I'm going to tell you, the Bible can't lie. Has God ever lied to you, Chris?
No.
You, Ryan?
No.
Okay, so if there was nothing else in the whole of the Bible, and all I had was these words from God, okay, cursing those that hate me, because he says, if you don't keep my commandments, you hate him, and he'll curse you to the third and the fourth generation of those that hate him. That's what he said. Am I right? I'm not telling
That's
stories
right.
here, am I?
That's it.
But then right after that, he says that he'll bless you to 1,000 generations. Huh? He'll curse you to the third or the fourth generation, but he'll bless you to 1,000 generations of those that love him and keep his commandments. That he'll bless you. I mean, now I'm using James vernacular, but basically, he'll bless you so much that the blessings will come upon you and overtake you. Okay. Now, when we talk about that, everybody automatically their minds most of the time goes to money and material stuff. Okay. I know at one point in my life that's where my mind went as well. That's the residue. I'm just going to tell you the material stuff, the financial stuff. That's the residue. The real blessing is your family. The real blessing is you and your wife connecting on levels that you forgot that you even knew about. I mean, seriously, you married this person because you loved them. You thought that they were the best thing in the world, but now the enemy's got you into the abuse mode, and you're going to abuse them verbally, mentally, spiritually. Okay, we got to stop doing that. We have to stop doing that. We have to stop allowing that to be done to us. Okay, we've got to say no. That's the enemy doing that. That's not you. That's not the woman I love. That's not the woman that I care about. That's the enemy motivating you to do that. Now, you wives that are listening, you got to start saying that to your husbands as well. No, that's not you. The man that I married was compassionate, loving, attentive. That was the guy I married. That's what made me fall in love with you. Strong, a protector. I mean, that was the guy that I fell in love with. This guy that's saying all these mean and hurtful things to me, that's not the guy I fell in love with. So that must be something else. The enemy is influencing you. So I mean, probably don't put it to us like that. I mean, if you put it to me like that, it's just gonna make me probably gonna make me a little bit more angry. But if you're like, hey, I don't know what's going on. Do we need to pray about something? Then you're gonna snap me back. Yeah, I mean, that's gonna snap me back and go, whoa, okay, I'm acting in a way I shouldn't be acting, and she's recognizing it. Okay, so I need to be able to recognize that myself. It's just this an amazing thing, and I'll tell you. I mean, there's sometimes that me and Florida we're not connecting on that level, but we're probably 90-10. I mean, 90% we're genuinely good with each other, laughing and joking and playing around, and, praying over our meals together and praying with each other, and like the brother that called us or texted us today that is having some family problems. I mean, both of us. I mean, we're equally hurting and praying, and what can we do, and should we go? And I mean, we're having the exact same thoughts most of the time about that kind of stuff. Trying to decide what is the best recourse. But then there's that 10% of the time, and that's being realistic. There's that other 10% of the time that I don't like her very much. I'll just be honest. I just don't like her. She's making me mad. I don't want to be around her. That's just the reality of the situation. And those are that 10% is what I got to work on. That 10% is what I got to get. It's not her fault. That's James's fault. James can't get James under control. So that the issue that I'm having is not with her. It's with me. And when I really start looking at that, it's not with her, it's with me. I'm struggling with something with James, with some character flaw that I've noticed in myself. And now if I can get the focus off of me and on somebody else, I don't have to deal with it. But I need to start dealing with that a little bit more, a little bit better. Because I want to be 100-100. I don't want to be a 90-10er. I want to be 100-100. I don't want the enemy being able to use me and her against each other. That's not what I want or I desire, and I know that's not what Chris wants or Ryan or any of the other men that's in our community. But we've all got to get better. That's all I'm gonna say. We've all got to get better. The Father's really been dealing with me the last few weeks, especially coming up to Fifth Sabbath. I still got to go talk to somebody before I make the announcement. But before Fifth Sabbath, I think that there's some things that we need to start digging in on. Some real character flaws that we need to focus in on and start getting our families prepped up to be able to fight this battle. Because the enemy is out there, and if you don't think he's trying to destroy your family, you're wrong. My old saying was, "You're crazier than a loon," but I don't even know what a loon is, so so I don't know if they're crazy or not. So
the bird.
So yeah, you guys got anything else on that?
I think you covered it pretty well, man. I mean, it's just, let's not be I guess the takeaway for me is just, let's make sure that we're not the accuser of the brethren.
That's the main thing. Don't allow the accuser of the brethren to make you the accuser of the brother.
That's right.
Because your wife is your brother. I mean, if I can be a bride, she can be a brother. So
that's right.
So she's my brother in the faith.
As a woman.
Do what?
Only time I identify as a woman.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the only time you're gonna get me to identify as one either. That's why I keep the beard. I don't look effeminate either. He said that out loud, didn't he?
Hey, truth.
So, talking about the accuser of the brethren, let's switch over to the political thing. I mean, I know the big thing going online right now is the Elon Musk thing, that interview he did this week. Basically, they were trying to extort him and blackmail him, with advertisement dollars for Twitter. And he just pops off the F word, go F yourself. You're not going to bribe me with dollars. So, and I mean, there was some crazy stuff that was said in that interview, because I saw the little snippet that they want to play to everybody. Elon's trying to sink Twitter. I mean, that was the big takeaway from it. He's trying to sink Twitter. But then when you go back and watch the interview, there's things a whole lot more concerning in that interview for me than that. And one is the way he says, the people of the earth will decide. That's just not normal speech. That's not normal speech. That's like, normally you'd say, okay, the world will decide, or the universe will, but the people of the earth will decide. That's like, that's almost like an alien talking. So the people of the earth will decide. So that I'm still trying to.
Maybe coming out.
Do I?
I said his true colors may be coming out.
Yeah, I he has a small speech impediment there that I've always, for as intelligent as he is. I'm not saying people can't have a speech impediment, but most people who are that intelligent, if they do have a speech impediment, really try to work on that. And maybe he has. I mean, maybe it was even worse than it is now. So I don't know. It's not like he's calling me on the phone asking me for financial advice or how to put a rocket in outer space. But those are the Elon thing's kind of been on my radar this last couple weeks, with the both rockets now seemingly not making it out of our atmosphere and exploding, and then this whole people of the earth comment kind of messed with me a little bit. But how people were, because he has focused Twitter on free speech, and that's free speech on both sides, how the left doesn't like that, and they're accusing him now of basically the same thing the left always accuses everybody is. You're a misogynist, a racist, a rapist, don't like you don't like Jews, you don't I mean, whatever they think they can throw at you, and whatever negative nomenclature they can pin on your name, they'll say those things about you if you're not doing what they want you to do. So did you hear anything about? I mean, you can talk about the Elon thing too if you want, Ryan. But did you hear anything about? Was there a conclusion to that New York trial on Trump this week?
I don't know. I didn't follow it.
Yeah.
But what I was going to say about Elon is I guess Disney, you know, he come out against Disney, or I guess the CEO of Disney come after him. And I heard a report today that there was either 20 or 50 million subscribers canceled their Hulu Disney package the last few days.
Mm-hmm.
So that's going to put a serious
a lot of money.
And Walmart is jumping on the bandwagon also. So we'll see. That'll be interesting to see what happens with Walmart.
Well, I mean, seriously, I try to. Walmart is the only retailer in this small town. So at times we have to use them. But if I can drive, I mean, if we have the time to drive an hour from here, I'm going to shop somewhere else if I possibly can. I just don't want to give them my money anymore. They get enough of it as it is. So let's try to keep as much away from them as possible. But I mean, both of y'all been to this town, so you know there is nothing here but Walmart and a gas station. I mean, I say that there's other things, but that's basically the only place to shop here. But that's the problem with all of these multi country businesses like Disney. I mean, most people think of Disney, they're thinking of Disneyland. Yeah, Disneyland, great. But they don't realize Disney owns Fox News. They own most of these news networks, the background. The same way, if you dig into most of these corporations, BlackRock owns them. They own the controlling money in those things. So Disney is the same way on the media and the television side. They own most of that type of stuff. And when you start really digging into what they do, it's pretty insidious. And this is what we're battling. I mean, you want to talk about the accuser of the brethren? You can't get any better than that squawk box sitting on your wall or on your nightstand. You know, somebody feeding your brain with misinformation that you think is real. It's craziness.
Yep.
I remember just probably 10, maybe 15 years ago, if you came in my house, the TV was always on. There was a TV on in some room all the time, except for when people were sleeping. But during the day, first thing we'd do is get up, turn the news on, watch the news all day long. Till I was just news indoctrinated. And I think when I really, really decided, no, we're not even going to watch the news, because it got to where, you know, we would watch movies all the time. Then it got to where did y'all hear that?
Yeah.
What was that?
I don't know what that was. Probably Elon Musk.
That's not.
AI. It was something weird. I don't know what it was.
That's some demon squawking. Sound like a duck or something.
That was a little squawker right there.
Yeah, I don't know what that was. Did you hear it, Ryan?
Yeah, maybe in one of my notifications.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. Make any noise.
Yeah, I don't know what it was. Some hacker might not like us and trying to hack in on us as well. I guess Florida might be on my account because James Gillespie is typing and I'm not even in the chat. So, but I don't know. Somebody might have hacked me. I don't know.
AI.
Maybe
Yeah.
that might be what it is. But you know, with everything going on in the world, I know we've had 2 weeks here of a bunch of political news breaking, and I kind of lost track of the Trump thing. I mean, after the kids testified, I don't know what's going on there now as far as the New York case. And what I find interesting about all of this, though, just this Joe Biden gaffe this week. I mean, how long until we, say this guy is too senile to even prop up like Weekend from Bernie's? I mean, the gaffe machine does not do this guy justice, and he's more than a gaffe machine. He is weakening our nation optically to every nation in the world. I don't know how long we allow that to happen. I don't know how long I don't know if we can survive another year of it. It's what I'm saying. What do you guys think?
It doesn't seem like it.
Well, I mean, Kamala Harris isn't much better. I mean, she's out there gaffing it up this weekend as well. I mean, I don't know. If this is, come on, we come from a nation. This is the United States. We have the best and the brightest in the world. Why did we put the dumbest and the slowest in the front of the America, in front of the world? It don't make any sense to me. I mean, it genuinely does not make any sense to me. So, the walking out, David Hooven said, did we see him doing the walk off from the interview? Yeah, I mean, just walking off in the middle of somebody trying to talk to him. It's just, I don't understand it. But I know that we need to pray for our nation. Get with that. That would be a good exercise because, the Bible does tell us to pray for those that have rule over us, and that that the people that are putting in rulership over us, he has put them there. So I don't know what the purpose Yahweh had of putting Joe Biden in office, even if it is fake. I don't know what the purpose of that is, but I know that it's all working together for his glory, and I have to trust in that plan, because when I look at it through my physical eyes, I don't know. It just, it's so chaotic. I can't make sense of it. I can't. And, being in the military and being part of misinformation campaigns and all of that kind of stuff for years, I'm trying to outthink the thinkers, and it seems like it just turns your brain into mush trying to outthink them. I don't know how you do it now. This is if this is a game, a war game that is being played out on the world. I don't know. It is so masterful and so multi-layered. I don't think that we would ever know even the surface of it in our lifetimes. I don't know if we can, unless it is something like some of these Q drops are saying that they're going to do, 10 days of whatever, blasting this on television. I mean, that's the only way that any of this is going to get out of here. And I'm not a Q person, but I'm not a Q denier either, because I do think that Trump has the best interest of the United States at heart. And if there was this mass psychological operation being played out against conservatives, which is what Q is doing, is kind of keeping the conservatives at bay and not having them march on Washington and really have an insurrection, not like the fake January 6th one. But there are genuine groups in this nation that want to go overthrow the government. And some people are saying, that Q is staving that off. But I think Trump loves this nation enough that if, I think it was Ryan sent me something this week about that if it really was just a fake organization and there was nothing to it, that Trump would have denounced it by now. I mean, as much as he's questioned about it, it seems like he would have denounced it by now and said there's nothing to it. So
yeah, he's retruth on Truth Social. He retruths Q drops, and he makes his Q signs at his rallies. I mean, he's Q plus. I mean, it's obvious now. I mean, it wasn't obvious in the beginning, but it's obvious now. That's what. So, I mean, I think, in my personal opinion, it's just we're trying the restored republic, Trump military, the World Alliance is trying to take down this American incorporation, this corporation that Biden's in charge of. I mean, it's starting to look obvious that that's what's going on. But
yeah,
I mean, if this is a movie, it sucks, and the credits need to roll because
no, I'm 100% with you.
It's getting to the point where something needs to be done with it. And maybe it is. Maybe it's just warming the masses up to what is fixing to happen, what's fixing to drop. Whether it's a catastrophic disclosure where it puts people into a state that they don't want, that nobody really knows how to handle or adjust to. Maybe they're just warming us up for that. I don't know, but I would like to see the credits. I'd like to see the credits roll because it just.
Well, I'm just an old Southern guy, and my grandpa had a saying growing up, and it's probably one of the most crude sayings that I've ever heard. But every time I think about this government situation, his words come ringing true in my ear. And it's a crude saying, I'll tell you. So hide your children, hide your wife, because I'm about to say. he would say, it's time to either piss or get off the pot. and that's kind of the way I feel about this whole deal. I mean, I am sick of whatever's going on. I honestly, I don't care if we go into full-blown war right now, but something's got to change. And I mean, I would never say that before, but something's got to change. We can't I mean, at least in war, you know what to expect. You're fighting. In this, you don't have a clue what to do. You're just sitting here twiddling your thumbs. I don't know what to do. I know Ryan and Chris don't know what to do. We're just sitting here waiting for the father to say jump, and hopefully when he does, we'll just say how high. But I said we were going to try to keep this to an hour and 30 minutes from now on, and now here we are at 10 o'clock. So I'm keeping these guys up too late. And so I'm going to burn rubber out of here. If these guys got something else to say, we'll let them say it real quick. But after that, I'm just going to hit the credits and we're going to roll on out of here. You got anything, Chris?
Nope.
How about you, Ryan?
No, I mean, let's just all be prepared. Because it does show that, it's obvious there's more and more disclosures coming out every week. I mean, you got Elon Musk and Joe Rogan is just, I mean, he's waking up the lefties and the normies. And,
yeah.
There is serious battles and fights going on in Twitter. And, these people leaving Twitter, that's a big deal. I mean, what's coming out right now? I mean, we get, well, I better not talk about that, but, there's new pandemic supposedly coming out, and so they're going to try to run that. They're going to try to run that story again.
Well, they're going to try to hide Joe Biden in the basement again. I mean, that's exactly what they're going to try to do. I even heard somebody on Fox News the other day literally say those words. Cue the next pandemic. I mean, when they talked about Joe Biden running for president, cue the next pandemic, because everybody knows that that's just a game now. Everybody knows that it was just, what it was. The one thing that kind of confused me about it is, Trump still, and I kind of realize why he's still doing it, but, because the people who took the shot and believe in the shot, he's still got to keep their votes. So, I'm the type of guy, no, I was deceived and sorry I went down that road, but I was relying on people who were supposed to be a whole lot smarter than me in that area. That would be my outcome on it, but I can't speak for him. So that's my one issue with Trump today is, why are you still, supporting these shots and all that kind of stuff? So that's my only issue. But with that said, As always, guys, we love you, but not as much as Yahweh does. We're going to burn rubber out of here, and we will see you next time on the Tents of Israel. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.